My name's Thomas Waddle. This is the Whisky Sour Hour, and we're joined by Stuart Murray from Retro Vintage. How are you doing?
Aye, good, Thomas. Aye, glad to be here.
Just wanted to say thanks for coming on the podcast and just reaching out to us. It's much appreciated. It just shows that the people are listening to what we're doing, which is great. Obviously, bringing you on here today, it's due to the fact that you're very close by, local. I want to kind of help promote that, and the fact is you've got a really interesting shop, shall we say.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, just want to open the kind of floor to you, and just if there's anything you kind of want to cover about Retro Vintage Online, and just go into the details, because the whole point in this podcast is highlighting people's passions, and it's comes originally from when I worked in a pub and you're speaking to people and you're speaking about things that maybe you have absolutely no knowledge of, but when you hear somebody's passion, it becomes very much infectious and you're like, I want to know more about this. So when you're telling me about mid-century and Danish furniture, I'm like, I don't know anything about that, but I can tell by the passion that you put into your website and your videos that there's something there. So please, enlighten us with that.
Yeah, so I've been doing that for 8-9 years, Thomas, and as you say, we're a retailer of what's termed mid-century furniture, so that's generally furniture produced in the 1960s, 1970s, and some of it's produced in Britain, but the best stuff, to be honest, was generally Danish, and the British manufacturers followed the Danish manufacturers, and that style really took off. It was really big, sometimes called mid-century modern. The Americans tend to call it mid-century modern, but in Britain we tend to call it mid-century.
It's just a weird aside. Almost a year ago I was in New York and there was these big billboards and it was mid-century modern because there was a sitcom called it. So it was when I saw that, it just kind of, I was like, I wonder, and thinking back at the show, it was absolutely nothing. I think it was maybe just talking about the house that the guys stayed in it, but I was like, it's weird how little things like that you put to the back of the mind palace. You see something and it comes back to you like that. So I was when I went on the website and was looking, I was trying to find kind of commonality with things that I'd saw, and I was like, I feel like I've seen the style, but I can't place it. But it's very unique, and I don't know. I'm a big fan of wood, so it was like very much. I like that. So what is it that drew you to that particular style?
It was a funny thing. When I look back at my life, see, my mum and dad were quite mainstream, right? So there wasn't any sort of art or design elements in my life. And at school, I was quite academic, but in like maths, science, those kind of things, economics, stuff like that. But anyway, it was about the age of 45. I actually went into another mid-century furniture retailer's premises, but I didn't know why I was going there. I just knew they sold old furniture kind of thing. Like I thought it was an antique shop or whatever. And there was all of this 60s, 70s furniture. And I wouldn't quite say I'd grown up with it because my mum and dad never had much of that style really. But maybe one of my aunts in particular had bits and bobs. But for whatever reason anyway, I was like, it just struck me. I was like, I really like this. And why do I like it? Like, I didn't know why I liked it, but it just grabbed me. It was bizarre. And then now that I look back, I can actually see that I was always interested in the aesthetics of a lot of things throughout my life, but I wasn't really conscious of that. But now I've kind of honed in on that, and I'm developed an interest in architecture, furniture, enjoyed galleries, museums, all that sort of stuff, 60s, 70s design, and even design for the 1920s. And yeah, that's it. So that's where we are today. Like it kind of came out the blue. I had 2 redundancies around that time. Funnily enough, my first redundancy was one of the best days of my life, and I'm not kidding you. That was one of the best days of my life because I worked in car auctions, and for the first 5-6 years, I worked for a large car auction, but just single site owned by a family. And that was fantastic place to work. You had a lot of autonomy. We were always doing new things, like social media was in its infancy and a lot of online advertising. So I was getting right into all that, which I'm still doing now. And I enjoyed it. Loads of autonomy. Business was great. Then I went to work for a big corporate for the next 5 or 6 years, and I pretty much hated that for a minute. I walked in the door for a whole variety of reasons. But yeah, it was funny. One of the directors came up from England very early one morning, and I'm like, he's come to shut this place. And I'm going, yeah,
just the spider sense
I
is tingling there.
he's come to shut this place. And so the thing was, I had to disguise my glee from my colleagues because it's, you know, most of them were feeling quite tragic about it, you know, losing their job. Whereas I knew I had a contract that allowed me 6 months' notice. So as it happens, the branch was shut pretty quickly. So I got 6 months' pay, 6 months' holiday pay, had the car for 6 months, got my redundancy. So I ended up with a pot of money that allowed me to make choices in my life, kind of thing. Because at that point, what age would my son be then? I'm trying to remember. That was about 10 years ago. Yeah, so he was 11, so I had, it was me and my wife and my son. So you were in that middle part of your life, which you've still got to come to us, where, you know, you, maybe as a male in particular, you feel the conscious and unconscious pressure of providing for your family, and, you know, you're always aware, especially if you work for a corporate, because they're always restructuring corporates. You kind of know it's a matter of time before they restructure you, you know. Because for the minute I went in, it was like, this department's getting restructured, redundancies, then that one. So you kind of knew it was a matter of time. It's
sometimes framed as, it's like expansion, and then all of a sudden there's contraction, and it snaps all the way back. So I think you need to be, you know, you're in a secure job, or what you feel secure, and you need to just sometimes take a step back and look at the big picture, and you're like, well, hold on a minute, it's been too good for too long.
And you know, one of the things I didn't like about that corporate environment, like, we'll maybe talk about my autism later on, but yeah, I would genuinely say I'm very authentic kind of thing and don't like bullshit, you know, and it's full of people smiling at each other and jollying each other up, but, you know, they'd no real depth of relationship, and in that corporate environment, it doesn't really exist. And even guys, even, you know, I had a good, well-paid job managing the branch, auctioneer and everything, but even down at corporate, you know, the guys that were directors and things, they were getting managed out the business and stuff as well. There's zero loyalty, you know, the guys that are smiling and geeing you up and all that, they'll just dump you. If they have to,
they're colleagues, no friends a lot of the time, especially we kind of, I've worked at one very large car retailer, and the amount of time, I mean, the term that was used, I was gashed really badly off somebody to the point I was like, actually, you know what, this isn't for me. So I just took a big step back, and it was, thankfully it fell. It fell on the 29th of February 2020. Right. I put my notice in, so I was working a month, and it got to the 22nd of March, and I was like, I don't know if I want to go back for this week because I put a holiday in. And when I got to the Wednesday, and as I say, I was like, I'm not going back, and I got a message for HR saying, we're going to lockdown. Do you accept being furloughed? And I was like, aye, all right. So I got paid for 6 months for staying at home, and it just, similar to the situation with you, it was like, it gave me that time to just actually reevaluate kind of what's going on and my priorities and stuff. So I was quite fortunate that way. But just the fake smiles and, as I say, undercutting you just was brutal. So no great.
Yeah, it gave me the opportunity. So I decided I'd literally just discovered mid-century furniture, right? But for whatever reason, it caught my eye, and I kind of thought, I wonder if I could do that, you know. And I was like, even if I just get a kind of half decent living wage out of it, enough for me and my family, I'd much rather do something I love than work in a corporate environment. You know, it was 9 to 5 up in Glasgow, so commuting and everything, leaving in the dark, coming home in the dark. So yeah, I just went hammer and tongs at this, and learned as I went. I wouldn't even have said at the time I'd have seen myself as quite ballsy, but probably now, looking back, I was quite ballsy, you know. I rocked up to an auction down in Ayr, this one was. Rocked up to an auction and bought 5 bits of furniture. I had nowhere to put it. So I went to Dundonald because I'd heard they had storage containers. They're kind of everywhere now, but at that time less and less in my bank near. So I got a storage container, put it in there. I was like, how am I going to sell this stuff? Now I've bought it and I've got somewhere to keep it. So I was like just chatting around to people, and I found that I heard there was an antique centre in Glasgow and you could hire a space. So I went up there, hired a kind of smallish space, to be honest. And after sort of 4-6 weeks, it didn't have a lot of footfall. It was I'm not slagging them off, but it was poorly run. It wasn't well kept and stuff like that. Eventually closed, but quickly I went, nah, I'm not going to make a living on footfall in here. So I was like, I'll have to drive it myself online. So tried eBay, Gumtree, got my own website built, but I actually, again, an example of that sort of autistic laser focus. One of the benefits of having an autistic neurology, I built my own website with like zero experience or knowledge of it from a YouTube tutorial. So I bought what's called a theme, where you get WordPress and you import a theme and then you edit the theme to build your own website. So yeah, I literally, like, sometimes I'd be at the desk for 4 hours knowing that there was just one wee thing I needed to change to make something work, but could not get it, and I'd spent days in one theme and then hit a dead end where I couldn't go any further and had another go. So I built actually, although I say it myself, I built a really nice website, but without the e-commerce element. So I thought, right, I'll just I'm not doing e-commerce, but I'll put the photos up there and people can see them. But then I got another firm to put the e-commerce part in it, because that was beyond me, and started to sell online. Am I rambling on too much?
No,
here?
not at all. No, listen, it's the detail. The devil is in the detail. So no, listen, the more detail, the better. That's what it's about, your story, man.
So yeah, then once the website was there, like, your website's invisible on Google. It's absolutely invisible until you. I maybe don't want to give too much away about
of course.
how I got my website ranking and stuff like that. But yeah, there's a lot of different things you can do.
I think we were talking, obviously, before we started recording and that, and obviously your SOPs and stuff, and try to get it up. And it's like, you feel like, right, I'm going to make for me, it was like, I'll make a Facebook and an Instagram, and there's zero traction. You're like, right, so exactly, I need to start going with that. And then you start looking on, when you start growing it on Google, but you're maybe like, as soon as you get down by like halfway in page one, you're like, right, we're nowhere near where we need to be. For me, it was like clawing. It felt like, like you're trying to like take off in a plane, and it's like up and down, up and down. And if you can get it off the ground for a couple of seconds, you're like, here, we're doing all right here. So, and you see it with your stats, you're like, the views for something, and you're like, why did that go like that? I didn't know that you don't want it to go well, or that, but you're like, why did that one go but the other one didn't, and stuff. And it's black magic to me. Like, do
you know what? It is a dark art, search engine optimization. I mean, the simplest part of it is really simple, right? If you make a good website that the pages load quickly and you've got good content on it, Google will largely like it. But there's other peripheral things you can do to feed. I mean, there's endless ranking factors, like, and no one knows exactly what they all are and how they all work, and Google keeps changing them.
The algorithm, man, it just changes all the time. There's something that works today, and then the more it's like that's out of faux pas, whatever, and you're thrown out with it. So yeah, that's difficult. But
it's funny. And I find, like, local customers, which is fine. They think they'll think I should be a shop. They think I will be a shop. I should be a shop. And they won't even tend to look at the website, local people, because they want to come on. But I'm not. I'm like a UK-wide online business, and 90% plus we sell from the website unseen, ship it around the UK. But so although, like, I have a genuine love for the furniture, like super enjoy getting the stuff, making it beautiful, taking the photographs, uploading it, looking at the listing, and just aesthetically enjoying it. But yeah, I have become a bit of a kind of online geek. Do you know what I mean? You have to be.
I think when it's there now, that's at your fingertips. You could open your phone and be walking with Google Maps in some street in San Francisco. There's people from there that could be looking at your website. Whereas, like, the footfall is only going to be so much, but the online footfall is unlimited. It
fantastic.
It just how you get it. It was just, I just wanted to kind of go back when you were saying, obviously, you were. The redundancy came in, and when you look back at that time, do you think to yourself, like, I can't believe I done that, or were you like, when you look back, you're like, that was the best thing to do? There was absolutely no like worry about it, but like that must have been a stress for me personally. I would have thought that would have been quite a stressful time, like trying to get it going to begin with.
Oh, the business. Well, the redundancy first. Like I was not enjoying that. It was taking its toll on me, and for different reasons, had probably dented my belief and confidence. But don't get me wrong, I was still super happy that day. But didn't know what I was going to do, but I did know I had breathing space, and I could look again and think about it. So that was good. What was your question?
Sorry, it was just obviously you've been made redundant. You've got that breathing space, like you're saying, and when you make that decision to be like, right, I'm going to try and set this up. Do you look back on that thinking, I can't believe I done that, or you're like, that was the right thing to do at the time? Like, was there any worry or doubt in your mind at the time?
Do you know I wasn't too worried about it, because I had this pot of money, right? So I was like, my determination was to go hell for leather at it and find out in a few months if I could get traction or not, essentially, and see myself making a wage out it. But the first 5 years just grew and grew and grew, like quite rapid, and I did work hard at it, like I definitely did, like tried to leave no stone unturned. I'm mostly talking about the digital side. Yeah. So I still do actually. In the last year I've trialled a lot of, for want of a better expression, digital initiatives. I've gone, I wonder if this will work. And what I do is I try and I commit to trying something, and I'm like, right, I'm going to hammer that thing. And I actually don't mind if it doesn't work, because I can forget about it forever and keep going. And you might trial 6 or 8 things, and you find 2 or 3 that work, and you adopt them, and they become part of your routine, and then you're looking for more, kind of thing. So yeah, always building it up in layers. But no, I didn't actually feel intimidated at that time. But it's been the making of me, I would say. Like, it's just like yes. I don't want to sound sort of conceited or self-referential, but it's been something where I've realised my skills and my characteristics. You know what I mean? More my characteristics than anything else.
I don't think that at all. I think if you're confident in what you're doing and it's working, I don't think anybody looks at you. It's when somebody shouldn't be in a position and they're lording it over someone, not at all.
Yeah, which is usually the workplace.
That's going back to your like commercial side and stuff. But no, it's one of the ones. If you see someone that's self-made, it doesn't matter. Like, even if you'd like, if there was a school, know that there is, but if there was a school friend and you're just like, you know what, you were a prat back then, but hats off to you, because that's what you've done. No, so I totally get that. And you were saying, obviously, the first 5 pieces you bought, when you got them in storage, when you bought them, were they in a condition you're like, they're ready to sell, or did you have an understanding there's going to be some restoration that would have to be going towards it? I
think at that time, at the very beginning, I was trying to buy things that were barring a cleaning and oil. I didn't even know what oil was at that time, actually. Honestly, like, this is like kind of like me now, but unlike most of my life, where I was quite conservative, you know what I mean? But yeah, I didn't know. Like, there's things I know now about how to clean furniture, treat it, revive it. I genuinely knew zero about that, so I think I was buying things that were largely looked as if I could sell them as they were at that point. But yeah, now we restore a lot of the furniture we sell. But there's also sometimes you'll get something and it's okay, and there are some products which we use in the trade that can revive and kind of nourish the wood if the thing's okay, and you can clean it, oil it, put it on sale. But most things that we sell will do some sort of restoration on them.
And is that a part of the job that you kind of are hands-on with, or is that something that you're like? Because me personally, like, I love when something looks great, but I'm no very artistic and stuff. And me and my wife are expecting, so there's been a lot of flat pack furniture getting built, and I'm telling you, I built a cupboard, and the door was off by maybe like 10 mil, and I've wanted to like chuck this out. I walk by it and it's like mocking me. It's almost like flapping at me, going, ha ha ha, laughing. And I'm like, I'm just going to drop kick it one day. But do you feel like when you're doing the restoration, when you're hands on with it, do you have to like kind of, that's as good as we're getting, and it's in me that wants it perfect, but there's never a perfect it's going to be, you know?
Listen, first of all, I'm like you, right? I'm not practical at all. I can clean things, right, and oil them, but early doors I picked up some furniture restorers that I work with, so I was subcontracting that work to them, if you like. So yeah, they always did a great job. But probably about a year and a half ago, I started to get my son doing bits. He was at uni and he was doing bits in his mum's garage, but now he's, although he's actually on a self-employed basis, but now he and I work super close together. So he does restoration for me. He bought a van. He does collections, deliveries. He buys and sells as well with me, and so it's me and him. Like, he's a director of the company as well. So me and him are like super close. We've always been super close.
That's brilliant.
So yeah, this is like a great joy for me. Like a big joy. Like, honestly, like working with him, and yeah, it's just a great pleasure. So he does pretty much all my restoration now.
That's brilliant.
And but you do have to. Yeah, you're right. There are things. It's funny. I might have a table on the website and in the showroom, and I'm like, oh, I wish that was better. But then someone will come in and see it, and they've got, if you like, untrained eyes, just normal person's eyes. So they're like, oh, that looks lovely. And it does look lovely. It's just, as you say, if you're doing something all the time, you become quite pernickety about it, don't you?
Well, so it was just that. I sometimes think that if a little bit of wear and tear adds a bit of character to something.
Yeah, very much so.
I'd mentioned to you earlier, like, obviously I collect trainers, and some of them are like, you know, mint condition. I can tell you the one time I've worn them, but there's something about like a beaten up pair of shoes that I've got, and I'm not going to throw them out because I'm like, there's character and there's stories in that. And when you look at, like, you know, like a table or like a leather chair or something, you're like, I wonder the stories that could tell. You know, you must look at stuff and think that that's a goer, even with, you know, a bit of cleaning in that.
Absolutely,
that's you.
That's it's interesting. This is the way I see it anyway, and I think it's the same for customers. See, like, in my world, there are a lot of teak sideboards about, you know, your classic teak sideboard. So I think they need to look really good, especially the top surface and dining tables. They need to look really good, the top surface in particular. You know, they need to look really nice for someone to have them in their house. But see the more sort of design-led, kind of funkier pieces, like, try to think, like Robin Day, he's an English designer, there's not much of his stuff about, it's very different. The customer that buys that, so a lot of people will buy a sideboard that maybe don't have a great interest in mid-century furniture or design, but they've seen one in the media or whatever, and they're like, oh, that look nice in my house. So a lot of the time I'm selling to just the general public who maybe don't have loads of mid-century furniture, don't want loads, but they want a sideboard for their house or a dining table. So that category's, I love those items, but it's kind of the churn, the bread and butter, and then you get the more design-led stuff, and your customer for that is buying it because they know what it is and they're right into it. That you can actually, a piece like that, it's more acceptable for it to show its age. You know, like this leather suite we're sitting on, it shows its age. I bought it second-hand for my house. Yeah. You know, and I'm glad it shows its age, just as you're describing, but it's quite a Robin Day design, so it's quite a design-led piece.
But it seems quite robust, I think, you know, like, and it looks like it's got like history to
yeah,
it, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
I just think
you're right.
I just think that's really interesting, you know. I think that's one of the things I was talking about, you know, like, you can relate to these passions, like, as I say, not knowing anything about mid-century furniture, but there's, you know, those kind of lines that you can draw between things. You're like, oh, you like that because of the same reasons I like it. I just never knew the lines existed until we start. And when those strands start connecting people, like, I just think that's amazing, you know, and that's how connections are built when you start joining those up.
Yeah, I love it when customers come in and they're kind of at the start, especially, so a lot of my customers are older, like 50s, 60s, 40s, but you'll get ones in their late 20s, and they're just kind of starting their journey. They know they like I was, they know they like it, but they don't know much about it, they don't know why they like it, and their enthusiasm's like super high. Yeah, I love that part.
You'll do your open day and there'll be somebody just standing looking at the table for like 10 minutes and you're like, are you okay? Like,
it's great.
I fell in love with this, but I don't know why you fell in love with this. No, that's...
I love it when they come in, you know, and they're as excited as I am, you know, because I'm excited about it.
You can tell it, no, definitely exudes for you. And just kind of the last kind of bit of the restoration, is there ever times where you're looking at, you know, you get sort of piece in and you're like, actually, you know what, the best thing we can do is just, like you're saying, kind of give it a kind of clean polish, maybe an oil, because that's a goer, you know, just, you know, you don't want to take away that character from it.
Totally, aye. Specifically, that stuff that's sort of by known kind of high-end designers, if you like. Like me, the customer that buys that, they are like, it's the aesthetic of the design rather than the finish, you know, whereas someone who's maybe buying a dining table for more functional reasons, they want the top of that dining table to look beautiful in their house. But someone that's buying a design-led piece because they just love the aesthetic, the lines, the curves, they're not so bothered about the finish. And I'm a bit like that with some of the stuff as well.
Well, you know, nearly being a decade in, have you had someone that maybe you've like brought them into this, you know, you've kind of nurtured that initial interest, and now they're coming back to you and they're like almost like educated to it? That must be like quite a joy if you know you're getting people that you're like, those seeds were planted years ago, but they're coming back and you're seeing it. Is that something that you have, or have you had returning customers that way?
We do get repeats. You don't get loads and loads of repeats because generally people don't need to buy a big lump of furniture that often. Do you know? I get you. But you do get people in 2 or 3 times. And my son, I think he's starting to develop an appreciation because he's 21 now, but when he was, I don't know, maybe 14, 15, 16, I'd get him to come in the holidays, you know, when he was off school, and he'd work with me a day a week, and like he was doing all the cleaning and prepping, not refurb, just the kind of grunt work, you know, the cleaning, prepping furniture, moving it about with me so I could photograph it. And I don't think he had any appreciation of it at that time, because I used to, he'll hate me if he hears this, but he used to be a right grumpy wee bugger in those days, and I actually, like, I gave him so much money a day, you know, for doing his shift with me, you know, getting him into the way of earning money for working. And so I said to him, right, let's try and enjoy this. Let's try and enjoy the day that we're in working together, because I was enjoying it working with my boy, you know, but he was like a teenage boy, kind of grumping about. And so I actually started him on a happiness bonus. I said, see if we get through the day and you can just be kind of happy and enjoy it. I says, you got a bit extra.
That's it. I'll take that. Listen, I don't know if I could get through, you know, the happiness bonus. I think I would be getting that chucked out sometimes. But no, that's what it's about. And as I say, I suppose that's what the question really should have been. Is like, it must be good for you looking back and seeing like how far you've came. If you're, you know, the fact that you were, I don't know, happiness bonus bribery perhaps, aye. To the point now where, you know, you're partners, you know, for want of a better term, you know. So.
And yet the other day he was moaning at me for being so stressed. The tables have turned. You wouldn't think you could get stressed doing what I'm doing, but some days it's the day that your hands on the furniture, so you're trying to get things photographed for the websites. And you go to a dining table, it's been fully restored. This happened the other day. It's been fully restored. It looks absolutely beautiful. You pull the main leaves apart to put the extra leaves in, and the main leaves won't come apart. So we will solve it eventually, but we spent whatever, an hour and a half on it, and had to park it and give up on it. You know?
I think, you know, the just in my own experiences, like the most stressful thing for me with it links to the podcast, it's, you know, the hour before it goes live, you're like, right, I know I've edited it, I've listened to it, I know it's fine, it's going to be fine. I find myself to get stressed with that. No other time do I get it. I enjoy the entire process up to that point. Even when I was in the car sales, selling the car, you were like, no bother, that was great. The last like hour where you're like, that person's coming in to get that car. And I'm like, is it perfect? I was like, right, it's been through the garage, is it valeted and that? And you'll go out and you'll walk around and you're like, I don't remember that scratch. Was that scratch there before? Like, are they going to notice that? And you start like, and that's where I'm just like, right, just switch off, get a cup of tea, and let's just, you know, refocus. And then we sanity check somewhere else. So. And
you get. Look, I was close to dealerships when I worked in the car auctions, so I know there's a lot of friction between departments in there, trying to get the ballot done, trying to get the parts for service.
You were saying a happiness bonus in that. I don't know how many crates of Pepsi Max and boxes of Walker's Crisps I gave to the valeters and the mechanics, but it did help sometimes. They put me out some kind of sticky situation, so no, it was quite good that way. You mentioned it earlier on, and I think it adds to the kind of how fascinating this is. Obviously, you mentioned you're type 1 autistic, and it was what they would refer to as Asperger's back in the day.
Aye, that's changed recently for political reasons.
Of course. How do you find that manifesting during your time working? I worked quite close with a lot of people that had, you know, were on the autistic spectrum, and some people, and it's like you don't want to kind of have that kind of stereotype of it was like savantism in that, because it's not like that at all. But I totally get, like, my belief is, and some people kind of look at me like I'm daft, working with the kind of the spectrum. I think everybody to a point is on a certain part of it, because we're talking about hyper focus. See if I get into something, you'll find I'm ordering books off Amazon and I'm never off like Wikipedia or whatever, because I end up just falling in love with something, whether it's you've watched a movie or listened to a band or, you know, whatever it is. My friend who does listen, Jamie, I'll just give him a wee shout out now, and I can pinpoint the exact moment his life changed. We used to go midnight runs to Asda at Linwood, because it was 24 hours and we were driving. We were in our early 20s, it was fine. And we went there one night and he bought a fish tank, just a wee fish bowl, and he got a couple of goldfish. And at one point before he moved, he had a 7 foot, or maybe even bigger than that, he'll probably correct me, but 7 foot tank with, like, you know, tropical fish and all that. And I sent a picture, we were out getting a scan the other week, and I sent a picture of a fish tank to him, and he rattled off every single fish that was in there.
Yeah.
So for you...
And is he diagnosed?
I think he may be. He's probably going to do this. He'll be like, I might need to speak to someone. But you were saying, obviously, you didn't know why, but you just felt kind of attracted to the kind of mid-century designs.
Aye, well, that was...
I was just going to say, did you find, like, when you started looking into your mid-century furniture and then your autism, did you think, hold on a minute, that's like that's why I'm focused on it, and like you kind of makes sense that way to you? Because I find when I look at stuff, you know, especially things that interest me, like I certainly do become like hyper focused on them, and I'm like I love looking at something like that. So for you, did you know that you liked it in the past and then it came forward, like, you know, or was it just where was it came from?
Is this a 24-hour podcast? Cause
it could
this
be.
is my favourite subject.
I think it's really interesting. I'm going to close my book now, because this is where I wanted to. No, because this is where I wanted to get to, because like I think obviously the business is dead interesting, but I think you being so open about it, and the way, like, you know, when we were talking, the dialogue back and forth between us, it was just so interesting, and I was like, that to me, and I said to my wife, I was like, that is amazing, like I can't miss this opportunity.
It's very interesting, isn't it?
So I just wanted to kind of, if I've got time and you're happy to do it, just kind of dig in, like, how do you find that as someone, you know, with autism? Do you find there's any kind of hurdles for you, or like what's the difficulty for you?
Well, I'll give you a quick summary of my life, because I'm late diagnosed, right? So that's quite relevant. So I was diagnosed at age 50. So
wow.
Like the way I always say was, I had a lifetime of confusion, mostly probably like unconscious, because everything I describe now, I'm describing it with full knowledge, if you know what I mean. So imagine you don't have any knowledge that you're autistic or of autism, and you're living your life and you're constantly kind of confused and making a C word of things. Sometimes, especially socially, because that's a big part of it. So anyway, I'll try and keep this brief, because
no, please.
There are various facets to autism, right? And every autistic person is different. Sounds like a cliche, but it really is the truth. And one of them is being long-winded, so I can be quite long-winded. So I'll try and reduce it down. But so I would say I had like 50 years of sort of mostly unconscious, but sometimes it would break through the surface, conscious confusion, frustration, and some of the ways that would represent itself would be like. Socialisation's a big part of it, so it's not that you're unsociable or that you don't like people or anything like that. So it's a lot of subtlety here, but I'll try my best. So whereas every neurotypical's, if there is such a thing as neurotypical, but let's go with that now. Cool. Neurotypical people, their brain has an innate desire to engage socially. So it's not that my personality or an autistic person's personality doesn't want to engage socially. Their brain doesn't value it the same. It doesn't get the same rewards that a neurotypical person will have. And it's also more, the other thing is, there's a million things I could tell you about this, but the other thing is your brain, I'll give you a good example of this in a minute, it's not as capable of being sociable. So what if I was to reflect back through primary, I was fine. This never seemed to really be apparent. But then secondary, right for the word go, that was my adolescence was really difficult. I found it really challenging, and so I think looking back, I had all the desires to be like, I had all this sort of things that I have now that I'm really like positive, get right into things, want to be the best, not from an egotistical point of view, just want to maximise things, get all the joy out of them. So I think I had all that, but it was very hard for me to do that, specifically socially, because I'm going to try and jump on a bit here, but I'll try and give you a quick one. So see if I'm running with one other person, I'll rabbit on forever like I'm rabbiting on with you. And this sounds bizarre, but see if you introduce one other person and there's three of us, I will be really quiet, right? And I'm not making any decision to be really quiet, right? So the things that are in, assuming you're neurotypical, the things that are in your brain that make socialisation relatively easy for you, and you won't know what they are. I don't know what they are, right? But they're not there for me. So when there's three people there, I will struggle to engage in that conversation. And it's not that I don't. It's really, really impossible to describe this, honestly. But I'll just go into my shell, and like, as you can tell, I can chat away. I'm confident, but just there's something in my brain. Like, so if there's a group situation, I could give you all sorts of examples. Like, say you're sitting and work around the kind of boardroom table, the meeting room table. Like, again, I will really struggle to be a strong voice there, despite the fact I have strong opinions. I can express myself. I'm confident. Like, I can't do it in a group environment. And I think, to the best of my understanding, there are invisible cues that a neurotypical's brain reads without them having any idea it's doing it, of when they should speak, when it's appropriate. And I found a lot of the time, if I was in any sort of small group, I would be interrupting, and I found this. Here's another way to put it. I found that I would go to speak, and I would be drowned out, and I'm like, God, how am I never getting the floor here? Do you know what? Not in an egotistical way. It was just like, I can't seem to not command the room, but I can't seem to get my place in this conversation the way everyone else is getting their place, and it was nothing to do with them. So at that time, I suppose if I thought about it, I might have thought, do they not like me as much? But it's nothing to do with that. My brain can't do that. It can't see the moments that you see without knowing you see them. So you can't even describe what you do. I can't describe what's not there, but that's the difference.
No, I just my background is I was a sport worker for 10 years, and one of the first things you were told was, obviously we speak to one another, but if you're working with someone that's non-verbal, it turns out that, like 80% of communication is done through body language. Yeah. So if, like you're saying, if there's like social cues that are maybe so subtle that you're not picking them up, it would like you're saying, that it would just throw you off kilter that little bit, and it would have you in the back foot. How, obviously working in like your environments you were in with the likes of the auctions and stuff, how did you find at the time before you had your diagnosis, did that manifest itself, or how did you manage that?
Yeah, so for instance, when I went to work for, can we say company names?
If you're happy to do that.
When I went to work for Central Car Auctions, that was a really large auction site, but just one site owned by a family, and it took me, because there's a million different things about autism, right? People, even if you Google it, right, they'll give you 3 things as if that's a guide to autism, right? It's so much more varied and subtle, but struggling with change is a big thing. So again, this is an example of me being ballsy. I'm like, right, I want a new job, so I'll apply for this job as business development manager with Central Car Auctions. So I'd never done sales, never done business to business, but as a person, I would say it didn't frighten me. I thought, oh, well, I'll be able to do that. But my autistic brain then feels it's kind of overwhelmed, out of place, like takes a long time to adjust and work things out and build confidence. So I actually became really, really good at that job, although I say it myself, and I got loads of friends and contacts within the industry, did really well. But the first whatever year, I was struggling because of my autism to find my place and just relax, because you're easily overwhelmed by pressures, just relax. But I got there so that I loved it, loved the environment in the company, loved working in the motor trade. I got to know everyone, so I felt really comfortable. It's like in sales, I had that snowball thing going where it's hard to get going, but then it's rolling down the hill, gathering snow, and you become more relaxed because you know I don't mean successful in an egotistical sense, but you're secure about your success, and it's you approach people in a different manner when you're selling because you're relaxed.
I used to always find that, the first one's always the worst, but when you're, maybe half of the way into the month and you're maybe 10, 15 deals done, you're like, I don't need you to buy this, but I want you,
Exactly.
it is. So no, I can totally appreciate that, and it does. Again, that's probably, we're speaking about folk communicating, the way I come over, 15 days into the month and I've not had one sale, and I'm like, I'm desperate. My body language is totally different I'm totally swinging the pocket watch and laughing about it. So no, obviously the kind of social cues there are totally different. When you make that transition from the auctions to working with yourself, do you find that a difficult time, or was that confidence there? Like,
see when I was in the auctions, I'll keep going back. Is that
Please,
right?
no, of course.
To answer your last question, because I get good insights that I think people find interesting. Also, there's a lot of people out there. I'll have to keep that bit for later. I think there's a lot of neurodiversity about, and it might help some people go, actually, that could be me.
100%.
So I was like, I was actually really happy in Central Car Auctions and got on with everyone internally and externally on the whole, but now and again I would fuck up interactions with people, and this was probably the times not knowing I was autistic, but this was the times where I would say it was very conscious, it break through to the surface. So I don't know, some sort of stressful situation, and it would just feel very intense for me. And usually what I'd do is not necessarily not be shouting and swearing at someone, right, but just in my language I would go beyond what's socially acceptable, right? And very often I'm going to say, if not all the time, in terms of technicalities of that situation, I would be right, but I'd totally lose the whole situation by my demeanour and the way I spoke. So, like, I could be completely right and still tell you to this day I was right in a certain situation, but I would absolutely lose. I would lose all credibility. I would look the bad one because my brain hadn't learned that you can't be, because the autistic brain, again, lots of generalisations here, but the autistic brain generally wants to cut through all the shit, get to the matter of fact the quickest way possible. So it's not as good at social niceties. So I had to learn that, and I learned it to some degree before my diagnosis, but I've learned it better since my diagnosis. But I really, like, periodically I would really fuck things up in these interactions, and so. And you feel embarrassed, because everybody's thinking you're a bit of a loon ball, not as I say, not for shouting, not for swearing, just the intensity and the way you presented yourself, kind of thing. So I mean, I'm absolutely cool about all those moments now, because once I get my diagnosis, it's a great relief, because I'm like, thank fuck I wasn't just an arsehole all those times. There was something in my brain that was pushing me that way. But since getting the diagnosis, first of all, understanding it all just takes a lot of the intensity of a situation like that away. But also, you can educate yourself and sort of develop the skills to avoid being like that. So I can honestly say, like, it's really, really, really infrequent. Almost never happens now that I'll do that, which is such a relief. But I used to, on the social side, I've always found it really easy to make friends, but find it hard to keep them. Because, look, hopefully you find me quite engaging and pleasant.
I think we're 45 minutes in, and I don't think we've tripped up once, so we're doing great.
And people would find me quite interesting, engaging and pleasant, but at some point, and now I've actually said this to people post-diagnosis, so I had a running buddy, and I was telling him when we started running together, we had lots of rapport and shared values and stuff, and I'm very, very open. Oversharing can be another thing, another neurodiverse thing, so I'm very, very open about it. So I was telling him, and he's like, you seem absolutely bang on to me, and I says, I'm telling you, one day I'm going to test you. I says, I won't mean it, but I says, the more familiar we get, you know what I mean, there'll be something that is niggling away at my autistic brain, and I'll say more than I should, you know what I mean? So I can still, not in a frequent or horrible way, but I can still get caught with it very infrequently. But yeah, I used to burn friendships, and that's sad. Like, it's really sad because you've no idea why, but you know that you've sort of might have get in with a group of friends and everybody likes you, and then it appears they like you less. That's not nice.
It's
you know
like,
what I mean? It's horrible.
What have you done? And then it's like, you know yourself, you're not doing it.
You're not doing it deliberately.
It is. You would never do it deliberately.
The simplest way I could say is you're just harder work than most friends. You know what I mean? And there's obviously other reasons what people can be difficult for other reasons, you know, childhood trauma or whatever, the way they were brought up, different things. And funnily enough, neurodiversity, mild if you want to call it that, neurodiversity and trauma or difficulty for childhood, they can both present the same way in terms of the way, if you might present in a difficult manner, what I've described, it can be because of like an insecurity due to something in your childhood, or it can be which is more maybe a personality thing. You know, your personality's been shaped with your childhood, whereas with me it's more a neural thing, you know, a brain thing. But yeah.
No, I think it's just, as I say, the way you were just open about talking about it, I think it's one of those ones, it's no taboo, that's not the right word, but it's certainly one of the ones that people just don't talk about it enough, and there's absolutely no reason to not talk about it, because it's natural in the amount of people that go probably all their lives undiagnosed, and that support that you can then give yourself, because you're like, actually, you know what, I'm fine, and there's other people like me. Sometimes you feel like you're on an island.
Excuse me. Yeah, see, being so I'm what they call level 1 autistic. It means you don't have any support needs, and so by the way, I'd rather be level 1 than level 3, right? Because that's a lot harder, a lot more challenging for that individual. But I'd say level 1. One of the things that probably means you get judged more harshly, like looking back in my life, if you like, is because you're presenting like, I've always been kind of well turned out, always been able to talk, plenty of interests and all that, like relatively sociable, you know. So I always looked completely normal to people. So if you behave like a bit of an arse because of your neurology, if you I'm trying to find the politically correct words, but if you were more obviously autistic, right, somebody would cut you more slack. Yeah. But bear in mind, I didn't know I was autistic. They never knew I was autistic. So they're just seeing you as like them, but you're being an arse when they're not being an arse.
You're being held to a neurotypical standard that isn't
because
achievable.
Because you look neurotypical, you know. So yeah, I'm not getting the violin out, right? I'm just describing stuff for people to have an insight into it. But yeah. And I'm absolutely like cool and happy with everything that happened in my life, because I've got all the context now, you know, so I'm absolutely bang on it. That's the reason I can talk about being unpopular and that, you know, because I can understand it, and it was I totally understand, like, if somebody found me difficult, why they found me difficult, you know. It's actually nicer to know that they found me difficult for a reason, and just didn't like me.
Was it just your, you know, the behaviour that night, you know? Sure. But no, I just think it is. It's one of those ones, and it's like, even in the last like 10 years, the conversation has shifted from, it just doesn't get spoken about, to, you know, the amount of people that come in. I do a lot of inductions, and you speak to people, and they'll just bring in their paperwork, and it shows that, and it's I'm glad that's a thing now, because, as I say, it must be horrible for people that aren't diagnosed, that just feel like they're so isolated because of this. Like, why is something no working when it works for other people?
Yeah.
And sometimes it can just take that, and it just totally recontextualises someone's being, and it allows them. Was that relief there for you when, as I say, you got your diagnosis quite late, like you said? Did you like just take time to look back over your life to that point and going like, that puts everything in a different perspective for you.
Yeah, I find it really. I've always found the diagnosis ever since then really positive. But some people struggle with it. Some people have a period of grieving. I get sadness about what happened in the past, whereas other people have a relief. I'm like, thank God, now I know why that happened, you know. But some people have a lot of grief. So I hear. I've not actually spoken to someone like that, but that's...
You could imagine it's like that one person. I've never been in medication all my life, and they get to an age and they need to start taking, I don't know, like Ramapril for blood pressure, and you're like, whoa, I've never taken medication, and there is that sort of, you know, the 7 stages of grief to go through. It's like, you know, but it makes you better. So you knowing that is a good thing. So I totally would understand why someone would be, you know, maybe distraught about that, but you're only going to get better for this point, and just take time, fin yourself and find out who you are. And with the context and information you've got there now, you're only going to be in a better place. It just takes time to get there.
Yeah. Try to think what else I was going to tell you there. Yeah. Ask me a question.
No, so did you have the retro vintage? Were you diagnosed during your time working there? Running the company? Yeah. So I'm 54, so it was 4 years ago to get diagnosed, so kind of 4 or 5 years into retro vintage. But to answer that question you asked about working on my own, well, that was great. You know, again, not knowing I was autistic, but it was great on a couple of levels, because, you know, an autistic brain is very suited to hyper focus, working on your own, you know, and not particularly valuing, like you know how, probably yourself, a lot of people in the workplace, socialisation is a big part of their working environment, you know, whereas I'm generalising again, but the autistic brain's more wanting to just go, get through it, get it all done. You know, it's focused on the task and the process rather than, I love working here. It's all these people are great. I'm kind of making it a bit black and white, but obviously, again, not knowing it at the time, but working on my own was great, because you do, you know, I'm still prone to, like, there's no violin here, right? So like, you are still prone to being overwhelmed. I don't want to make it melodramatic, but if you've got a lot on your plate, you'd rather be in your own dealing with that, you know, because you're more easily stressed out. You're more chance of feeling overwhelmed. Just be your to-do list, like nothing, or something difficult happening, you know. And it's quite nice that no one sees me in those moments, you know, because it's very, very. One of the things I would say about certainly my flavour of autism is, things are a bit more intense generally, so like stress a bit more intense, but equally I find it really easy. Like, you've heard me use words like joy and delight and stuff like that. I do find it easy to get a lot of I would say intense pleasure out of things. So it's got that benefit, and the hyper focus is definitely an advantage, you know, like you're describing with yourself. Yeah. Do you know what I was going to say to you? See that neurodiversity piece generally we were talking about? I think, and this will take years, if not decades, right? But I think at the moment we've got a couple of names for a couple of forms of neurodiversity, and really they're names for a group like autism and ADHD primarily. I think what we're going to realise over the decades and be a bit softer about, hopefully, is just that all sorts of people, even relatively neurotypical ones, I think we're going to understand that sometimes, you know, somebody's not trying to be an arse, that their brain is driving them in a direction in a different way. Absolutely.
So I think there's going to be 1,000 flavours of neurodiversity, and autism's like, it's so varied. It's, you know, there's so many different facets to it.
No, I know. I think, like, you're talking about the levels now. Even in the last 10 years, obviously the naming structure's changed, so it can be confusing. I mean, even going back to other things, you know, like if somebody's epileptic, the type of seizures, the naming structure's changed. So I think it changes that much. I think one of the best things you could do is just stick to the one naming structure, and when you then can look back, you can retroactively look back at people when you're thinking, no, everybody learns the same way, and sometimes I think the schooling system maybe has it set up in a way that it's only going to people that work well, like writing essays and stuff, whereas that was never my jam. But I was never a particularly bad student. But I was never, and I knew in myself. Doesn't matter how much I revise, I'm just not an essay writer. If I could discuss something with somebody, and I don't want to say debate or anything, but I think, hopefully in the future for kids and teenagers kind of growing up, they'll have different avenues for getting their results, whether it is, speech or something. I know they do it now, you can dictate, but that's still not the same because, sometimes like paragraphs sometimes just don't work for me. Like I'm just going to put it all totally down. And I hope in the future, that I feel like we're just at the beginning of this journey, and even though it's been like 50, 60 years, I feel like in the next 50, 60 years we're going to look back and we're like, that's it's massive,
because you're an excellent speaker. You could be really knowledgeable about something and able to tell someone about it, but you might not be as good at writing. So why are you getting assessed and putting it in paper when you've actually got the knowledge that you can express? I
always used to think that back then. I was like, it doesn't matter how much I revise, and I used to beat myself up quite about it. I was like, it doesn't matter how much I revise. I know what the question will be, but they're going to look at, I never said a key word, but the information's there. Why does it matter if I didn't mention like one specific word? I applied, it was for the police, and in the interview I answered the question, but the reason and I got feedback, the reason I never passed the first interview was because I never used a certain word, and for the life of me now I can't remember, but I used the STAR, the way they want it laid out, situation, task, action, result. I used all that, but I never said like, I don't know, say like personal awareness or something, because they can attack
something in the marking grid.
I'm like, are you serious in that? So I'm hoping off the back of everything that it does change, but the good thing is now I think there's never been a better time to strive out yourself. Now obviously I work in health and safety, but this is like a pastime for me. The fact that you've took a passion of yours and spun it out into retro vintage, that to me is like that's the dream, man.
Listen, mate, I'm very lucky. I have worked hard at it, right? But I have great gratitude for it. I have gratitude all the time for what I do. I really love it, especially working with my son. Like, never actually anticipated that happening, right? But it's great. We've come together, and I'm very, very lucky. Like doing something that I love, and even on a bad day, I'm like, Stuart, you could be driving up to Glasgow for a 9-to-5, driving up in the dark, coming back, in the dark, and because I do have a lot of autonomy. I actually work more hours than someone in a job, someone in a 40-hour job, but I do have a lot of autonomy in my life as well, so I can nip to the gym during the day or things like that. Yeah. So I'm genuinely not being conceited or anything, but far from it. Like, I'm very, very grateful that it took me 50 years, but I'm doing something I love, and I'm doing it with someone I love.
It's an absolute cliche, but that way they say if you do something you love, you never work a day in your life in that.
Totally,
but it is. It's like see sometimes yourself even in like my day job, there'll be days where you're just like, this is brilliant. You're getting something out of it, and if you can spin that out to every day's like that, even when you have like a moment you're like, it isn't going well, like these was it leaves weren't they open?
I speak to my son about Tuesday. He might report differently to the way I'm describing it.
But if maybe you're not pulling your side hard enough,
could be.
It's like, what, you just, I'll take that because everything else that's going on.
You need to go, wait a minute, Stuart, come on.
Aye, but again, that's that hyper focus and stuff, because like my wife will say to me, like, why are you stewing over that like egg you dropped like 2 years ago? I'm like, I didn't mean to drop it, but like, you need to understand that. So it's like, I need to just let that go in and just enjoy, what that omelette I had after it was actually a lot nicer, so I can totally appreciate that. You were mentioning earlier, I don't think it was in the actual podcast about the shop. Obviously, it's mostly online. You have open days. Do you have them kind of more often? Do you have any kind of coming up? Is there any days coming up that you could just to get it out there to bring it back to that? Is there?
Yeah, we have one once a month, and it's always a Sunday. It's this Sunday, Sunday 15th, between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. Don't know when the podcast goes out, but it's this Sunday.
Tomorrow morning.
All right, tomorrow morning. Well, it's this Sunday, so it's tomorrow. If you're hearing this on Saturday,
I'll have it. It'll be all early socials, so don't worry, I'll have it.
And that's in Magby Hill in Stewarton. But Yeah, we have those once a month. They're great fun. We're an online business, but I do laugh, like, because I open for 2 hours a month, you know. But yeah, it's great. People come and they love looking at the furniture and they've got shared interest, and I can rabbit onto them about furniture and they're actually interested in hearing me. And yeah, we sell a lot of furniture on that day as well, so that's joyful as well. But yeah, we have one once a month, generally kind of middle Sunday of the month. Yeah, and we're on Instagram, we've got the website, we post all the details on Instagram, Facebook. Yeah.
Get them on there. Do you ever look at like some of your orders, obviously being online, and just think, you know, what's the kind of furthest afield place you've ever sent something to, and just think that's a crazy reach we've got, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I actually stopped exporting because it's
just
a pain.
because
we did sell bits to Europe, America, Australia. If someone really insists and they want to do all the courier part, I will sell abroad, but I try not to because it involves endless communication, even if they're arranging the courier. Excuse me.
No, of course.
But yeah, I have sold. I think it was Malaysia, South Korea, Australia, but now try and keep it to UK. So yeah, our biggest, as you might imagine, our biggest customer is London. Like, this furniture it's very city centric, you know, because I'm generalising here, but people in cities are maybe more into design and different things. And in London, funnily enough, a lot of the people we sell to are people that have immigrated to London. So if you think about it, they're more outward looking people, you know. They're happy to move country from America or Europe or whatever for work. So they're a bit more fearless, I suppose. So they're more liable maybe to buy online because they're like, oh, life's good, everything works. Yeah, I'll have that, you know. So I sell a lot to London. But yeah, I'll sell a number of pieces to England every week. But we've really, yeah, just talking about the business, we've really been lucky again, I'm going to say, because you just try things and eventually some of them work. But this thing of opening for a couple of hours a month, it's really, we do some paid posts on social media, and as well as obviously producing customers for that day, for those 2 hours, we're also getting a lot of follows and a lot of email sign-ups and a lot of people connecting and, you know, then being aware of us. That's like a byproduct. We're actually doing the promotion to get people there on the day, but yeah, we're getting a lot of followers. So we're doing more locally now as well. So yeah, it's good.
No, that is good. And like you're saying, if you know, it gets you out there, and some people, like you're saying, your folk in London will just, you know, buy over the internet. There's no issues. And to be fair, that's the way a lot of things are going now. You know, everything's a tap away. You know, like you can get. But some people are quite tactile and want to come down and, you know, rub the piece and just see. So no, I can appreciate it, but like you were saying there, the footfall and managing that and making sure you've got like the right amount, because you put too much in one, it's going to take away for the other one. So it's a balance act, but you seem to be, from speaking to you, you seem to have got the kind of balance down quite well. Yeah,
it's funny you say, but I mean, buying used furniture online, like, and it's not inexpensive, and people will buy used furniture online, and I presume they'll recognise it's just like kind of one guy now, two guy business. So, you know, you could imagine buying used furniture from a big retailer if there was, and you'd feel secure about it. But it's surprising how people put their faith in you. But
it's maybe because you're the face. You go on your Instagram, you're there, and it's like there's almost that kind of subliminal like friendship there. You know, if you're posting, you're seeing it, you're like, I bought that off Stuart, and I trust Stuart. Whereas sometimes you go on, you know, you go on Amazon and it's just a store page, you know, like, and
true.
It is what it is. There's probably like a relatability that comes for that, you know, whether it's you know, Scottish, or, you know, somebody sees you as you know, like, part of the UK, you know, so and can get it. So no, it's I think there's probably like a familiarity there with that. So I can understand why people do it, and it's almost like, you know how like magazines were everywhere, and now it's very specialised. Like if you're into like music, you'll buy like a magazine or a guitar magazine because that's specific, and you enjoy having the book, and you get it. It's like I can guarantee you the people that are buying like furniture used, it's like
they want an expert, don't they?
That's exactly what it is. Like, I want to speak to someone, you know, like I quite enjoy films and audio, so it's like I will go, you know, to like, I don't know, like I was going to say radio rentals, but it's you know, richer sounds in town. And I feel like bad because I'll go in and I'm not even going to buy anything, but it's like I just want to like talk to somebody about it, like an audio file, just be like, so somebody coming in and being able to speak to yourself for 2 hours, you know, about the design of a piece. That's probably heaven for a good amount of people.
Yeah, people seem to say that enthusiasm comes over in the website, so yeah, probably.
No, I mean, obviously, I try and we spoke obviously on the phone. I try and keep it as, you know, as casual, so it's coming natural. But I like to kind of do a bit of research in that. And when I was on the website, it's like I just found myself like just browsing, you know, like just going through and writing stuff down. And I was like, you know, and again, it was having no understanding of what it is. I was like, I wonder why I like that one more than that one, and I couldn't work it out. And I was like, I'm sure you could, if you know you were to say, you'd be like, oh, that's this design and that's why. And I'm like, oh, well, I must like that sort of design.
It is funny though, isn't it? It can be very small elements of a sideboard that make it super appealing. Nothing overly ornate, just the lines, the handles, like, and yet they're really not. There's nothing you can say, wow, that piece there's outstanding, but just the overall aesthetic of it.
No, of course.
It's bizarre, that, isn't it?
No, it is. It's good, and like I said to you, I went on the website and found all this, so obviously it's Retro Vintage Online.
retrovintageonline.co.uk.
Perfect. I've had an absolute ball doing this, and it's been really good. Just before we kind of go, obviously you've got your open day 15th this weekend, and that's every month.
Yeah, roughly? Every month. Dates to be confirmed, but we'll put it all over socials.
And it's on your socials,
in
okay?
Advance,
and you're on Facebook, Instagram.
Instagram, TikTok.
Oh, nice.
TikTok
nice. I'll get you.
I'm a bit old for TikTok.
No, that's it. You're listening. The reach out there's crazy. You post one.
The reach is good,
mate. It's ridiculous. Like you post it. I've posted some videos, no my own, it's just like, you know, you post like a meme and it's like, I'm quite, like, I mentioned I like films and stuff, I'll make like random references and like, Lauren, my wife, will look at me going, what are you talking about? And then other times I'll mention something that we both like and we'll sit there laughing, clapping our hands and stuff. And I've like pulled out some references, put like a wee meme like, this is you on a bad day at work or something to that. And you've got like 1 million hits and you're like, 1 million folk have watched this, like what did I do? And it's just weird, like we're talking about algorithms and the way it picks it up and that. And if one can hit, it can change everything, you know. So no, I totally get that. So to be confirmed on the website for the monthlies, but this Sunday, the 15th. No, that's exciting. Obviously, if you want to, you know, get in touch, we'll share all your socials on the post when it goes up. You can reach the podcast at contact@thewhiskeysourhour.com, and if you can give us a like or follow on any of our socials, and if you like the show, give us a wee like and subscribe. It always goes far. But yeah, no, this has been an absolute pleasure, and I can't thank you enough.
Thank you
for doing it, man. So.
Totally, I've loved it. I'm looking forward to it.
It'll be obviously going.
Who doesn't love getting to talk about all their favourite subjects?
No, I know. Somebody should have done this already. I don't know why I'm getting in this podcast train or just now. So, but yeah, no. Listen, I've been Thomas Waddle. This has been Stuart Murray from Vintage Online, and you've been listening to Whisky Sour Hour. Cheers.